Ladies and gentlemen, within the past year, fans of the Souls-like genre have been just absolutely showered in bangers. We had Wukong breaking records and Kazan the First Berserker bringing some absolute peak combat to the table. On top of that, we still got a few other projects cooking up for us, but today we're talking Wuchang Fallen Feathers. This is something that's gonna absolutely demand our attention. It has our classic Souls-like combat. They're putting a unique spin on the death mechanic, now summoning a mimic to make things even more difficult when you die. We got ourselves the brutal, over-the-top boss battles, and this is sitting there waiting for us right now as it came out on July 24th. This is sitting at a $50 price point, which I think is going to be well worth that money due to the game being around 40 to 60 hours long, so we're getting quite the bang for our buck here. So it's time to go into everything you need to know before you start playing Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Now this game takes place in the land of Shu during the late Ming Dynasty, giving us that dark fantasy version of 17th century China. We're going to be playing as a female pirate named Wuchang, who wakes up with a mysterious plague that's not only affecting us, but it's going to be affecting the monsters that inhabit this land as well. So the entire story is based around this sickness known as the feathering. This is causing weird mutations to form on whoever's affected by it, but on the positive side, this is what's providing us with our unique powers and abilities, allowing us to take on these malformed creatures around the world in order to uncover the origin of this devastating curse. The world and level design is also being described as being a war-torn, plague-stricken land, and this is being made up of a bunch of interconnected areas that are linked by one central hub. So it's not going to be fully open world like Elden Ring, but more of the old school typical Dark Souls layout. But don't fool yourself, because this map looks absolutely massive, and the devs even stated that exploration will be a key component to your gameplay. These maps are of course inspired by Ming Dynasty China, featuring vibrant landscapes, corrupted villages, entire underground cave systems, snowy regions, and a boatload more. And of course, we're going to have our hub area that acts the same way as Round Table Hold does, housing our checkpoints similar to how the Sites of Grace work. Moving into the combat, once again, stemming off this feathering, which is the plague our character is infected with. This plays as one of Wuchang's biggest combat mechanics. This allows us to perform our special abilities as you build up this bar with either perfect dodges or just applying heavy pressure with attacks. And what we're going to be generating is called Skyborn Might. This is what will be empowering all of your abilities in combat, giving us the availability to use all of our spells, chaining combos together seamlessly, and it gives us a very solid reward and feeling of being extremely powerful if you deserve it for playing well. The trailers we got to see show us generating our Skyborn Might after using attacks and dodges, with an indicator down in the bottom left-hand corner attached to our health bar UI. And the smooth transitions between spellcasting, offensive abilities, and dodges is something that looks like an absolute blast to pull off. It was also confirmed that you're going to be able to use your special Skyborn abilities even without having it generated. This is just going to result with the ability not hitting as hard, so it's definitely an incentive for you to bank away some of that power before you start popping off with those bigger hits. On top of this, they implemented a quick swap mechanic, allowing you to spend a little bit of your Skyborn Might to quickly swap to your offhand weapon to unleash even more devastating attacks. So this should create for some unique synergies and allow for our combat to just flow much smoother. Now they're definitely leaning much heavier into making the perfect dodging a core mechanic instead of them really focusing on the parry. However, we can confirm that parries will still be a thing, with some specific weapons having counterattacks that go alongside your parries to absolutely knock enemies on their ass. Something I find very interesting and rewarding is when you're playing with more of the lighter and quicker weapons, like your dual blades for example. They have this quick block system, so you're able to actually pull off blocks while you're in the middle of an attack chain. This way you won't have to break off completely from being on the offensive in order to protect yourself like we usually do. This is making for some very engaging and fast-paced combat. Moving over to talk about the spells a little bit, because we're going to have a plethora of them. We're mainly going to be receiving our spells from defeating and absorbing the powers from boss encounters. And these bosses, according to the devs, are going to be a major spectacle to behold. They're made to be that brick wall and push you to your limits. To be honest, I'm kind of on the fence with that, because most of the time when it's not a parry-based fighting system that they're focused in on, usually the dodges and the fights that go alongside that are a little bit easier to deal with, but we'll have to wait and see. But they're certainly going to bring their unique move sets and challenging boss fights that we've come accustomed to in our Souls-like adventures. So that's certainly going to be prevalent here. I'm always a fan of the mechanic where you're able to absorb the powers from the bosses, as this encourages more exploration and a reason to take on hard hard optional bosses. And it's a great feeling when you're able to actually use these abilities on even more difficult bosses that come after, for those who come after. Now, a piece to the Souls-like formula that they're going to be putting their own spin on is this inner demon system that will come into play when you die. So instead of just heading back and collecting your runes when you die, they're adding in a few unique touches. With the first being each time you die, you're going to be gaining a slight attack damage increase. However, there's a catch, and that comes in the form of becoming more vulnerable as well. A little kiss curse mechanic that's going to try to help us defeat the challenges ahead while still not punishing us for not learning the fights. And the second piece to this is that if you die too many times in a row, there's going to be a demon, a mimic of yourself that's going to spawn, and it's going to try to hunt you down. This is going to be an exact copy of your character that you will need to defeat. This is a super interesting decision made because not only are you going to have your brick wall in front of you with the boss killing you over and over again, but now once you head back to your runes, you just might have to deal with a clone of yourself on top of that. And of course, if you die to the clone, you'll lose all your points that you've saved up so far. So I think it's a nice way to really crank up that difficulty from a mechanic that hasn't been changed much in such a long time. I'm really hoping it works out well because I certainly think it'll be funny as all hell as you're getting ganked by your own clone of yourself. On top of this, we got build diversity, and it's going to be a core and vital part to the game and your success. There's plenty of choices for us to go through here. We have plenty of accessories, outfits, and spell loadouts to really help us fine-tune our builds. We got to see a lot of these weapons in action. For example, we have the long swords, short swords, dual-wield daggers, axes, and spears. And the skill tree has some very nice depth to it as well, allowing us to enhance our attributes and unlock all brand new abilities. And they're making it extremely easy to respec, which I'm a huge fan of. Just being able to swap back and forth and try out different builds, different weapon types, different spells on the fly is a nice addition to this game. So they're making that super easy for us. And your talent system goes hand in hand with your build crafting, as it's not just going to be passive stats, but full-blown gameplay changing abilities. This alone, plus all the spells we're going to have at our disposal when defeating bosses, is certainly going to add some serious depth that I know we're all looking for. But are we ready for this one? Because honestly, I'm extremely excited for it. I'm planning on streaming it and having a full playthrough of it, so stay tuned for that. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. And as I mentioned, I do stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and over the weekend, so feel free to stop by. And if you're looking for something else to do, check out one of these other videos coming up on your screen next. Toodles!